Welcome back to another Ableton tutorial. Well, I guess technically it's not a tutorial. It's a present and a little bit of a walkthrough. I want to say thank you to everyone who supported me on this channel over on my Patreon this year. So I made this little patch, and it's free for you to play around with. Link in the description below. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough about how to use this patch and what could be fun to play with. So I wanted to explore the idea from my previous video about using CV, using control voltage to modulate a bunch of stuff in a very modular synthy kind of a way, but I wanted to make a patch that was super fun to perform and play with. You could do sort of small changes and see how that could be a fun thing to perform with. So I'm going to break down what's happening in this patch. Let's turn these drums off. Drums are off, and here's the patch. Okay, let's reset everything. Reset. So I hit all off on the presets over here, and I hit reset up the top here. So essentially, this patch is 3 LFOs, which you can see here. 3 LFOs combining to modulate a bunch of stuff, including modulate the pitch, modulate the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier, but a bunch of other stuff as well, and how to make that super performative. So essentially, we need one MIDI note coming in. It can be any MIDI note. It does not matter at all for the purposes of this patch. It just needs a MIDI note to tell the synthesizer, in this case I'm using operator, that you want it to play something. So it's just generating a MIDI signal, and that is playing a sound. So now all of the controls from the LFOs are mapped here, and they're color-coded: LFO1, LFO2, LFO3, and then some sort of global pitch stuff, and stuff to do with the tonal quality, that's the operator, and how to change the quality of the sound. That's all over here. So let's look through. At the moment, it's playing a MIDI note. We can see things moving around, but nothing is happening. That's because the LFO depth on all of these 3 LFOs is set to 0. So if I increase this LFO depth here, I'm going to bring the pitch depth down here. We can hear LFO1 beginning to control something. And in this case, the pitch depth is set to 0. It's controlling the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier. So you can see we're just using LFO1. In fact, I'm going to rename that. And that's just making this up and downy thing. And that is at the moment controlling the voltage controlled amplifier. I can adjust how much it's doing that by turning the LFO depth. And you can hear that's getting quieter. So that's basically opening a volume, opening a noise gate, letting sound through according to this. We can control that sound. The bass frequency is here. The volume of that oscillator is there. We can change the waveform. So that's going on. We have a second oscillator here, a sub-level. It doesn't always have to be a sub. And you'll see that that's a totally free-flowing frequency from the first. So that's a second oscillator, and that's always going to be a sine wave because it's a sub-oscillator. We can also add some FM in here. Let's bring that down. And we can change the pitch of the FM here. So that FM is only controlling oscillator number 1, not the sub-oscillator. So if I turn that... Now we can just hear that sub-oscillator. FM is not controlling that. Okay, let's go back to the reset, this here. So we can adjust how quickly this LFO is going using the rate here. Slow. Fast. And we can lock that to the grid. Grid is on, grid is off, and it can be just a free-flowing LFO. Let's bring the grid back on. So we can now add in a second LFO, and that's the signal from that LFO is going to be added to that of the first LFO. So let's bring in LFO2 depth. And we can see LFO2 over here, and you can see how you can hear how those two signals are being put together. And if we go over here Oh, no, that's the pitch one, so that's not going to be doing anything. It's in here. The VC gained. So you can see how LFO1 and LFO2 are being added together here, and that's the signal that's now controlling the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier. Let's shut those down. Now I can use those to control the pitch depth as well. So now you see, here we will see it now. Those two signals are being added together, and that's now controlling the pitch as well. This pitch depth controls how much the summation of those two signals is controlling the pitch. Now, we have two controls here on the VCA shaper. The first one of these is going to bring up the ungated sound. So as I turn it all the way up, you'll hear that those LFOs are not doing anything. And we have a smoothing here, which acts a bit like a rise and fall. Same thing over here with the pitch. We have a smoothing of the pitch. Fun. And we have a little jitter here. Now this adds a bit of randomness into all of the LFOs. And you can hear that's adding randomness into both the pitch and into the VCA. Fun. Now, if I bring in a third LFO, and let's make that quite a long time. So we're now combining three LFOs, and they're controlling both the pitch and the VCO. Now, we can also use that signal to track the FM pitch. So let's add in a bit of FM. So you can see now the FM modulation is following the combined signal of these three LFOs. We can also ask the filter to track that. Let's bring that back to a low pass filter. So this is now just functioning as a standard low pass filter. But we can ask the filter cutoff to follow. Okay, let's reset. Let's go back to reset here, and let's go back to let's go to basic 3 over here. Why not? Okay, so now we just have let's turn that down. Okay, let's bring. So I've turned all of these off. Now let's look at one more thing that can happen with these LFOs. Let's just bring in LFO 1 again, and we can see it over here. We can hear it controlling only the VCA. The pitch depth is set to 0. Now we have these two controls here, the short, long, and the offset. So the offset, again, let's look at what's happening to LFO1. You see that as I bring in the offset, well, it's changing the offset. That's what it's doing. So we get more of a bass tone, a bass level. And we can bring that down. Now the short, let's bring that up to kind of around here. Now the short long, what that's doing is you'll see that as I turn it up here, it's getting longer, isn't it? So all of these things combined, and we can make it super short, just a little blip. So all of these things combined give us so many performative options, so many modulation options and ways of interacting with the sound. So that is how this patch works. It's free for you to use. One thing that I've enjoyed doing is just setting sort of a basic drum beat going and then slowly bringing in things and playing around with it. I should mention that the pitch depth is not going to change when you change the presets over here. Reason being, I found it was super nice to switch between these patches over here and have the sound stay kind of the same. It made it a bit more performative. Yeah. So I made a bunch of presets here on the pitch stuff, made a bunch of presets on the tonal stuff, showing some of the sort of weird things that it can do already. Oh, that's it. That's a bit out of... calm down. Whoa! Let's go back here. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, so, I mean, I said that's one thing that I've been enjoying playing around with this. It becomes super fun to get lost in it. But, I mean, you're adults. You can make your own decisions. You can come up with your own things to do with it. This is free. Grab the link in the description below. Please share anything that you're having if you're enjoying this. Thanks so much for being part of this channel this year, and on my Patreon, some cool stuff happening next year. But if you have suggestions, ideas that you'd like me to dive more into, ideas on how I can take what I'm doing further or better ways that I'm doing, get involved in the comments. Would love to read and see and hear. And yeah, happy solstice, happy whatever you celebrate.